Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning. This is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Elon Musk is proposing an idea that his Tesla Optimus robots will follow criminals around to make sure they never offend again. And of course, people will be on board with ideas like this. We're already seeing MAGA on board with Palantir and ICE being able to track civilians via their technology, track and trace their movements. We're seeing everybody out there who once cared about this thing called privacy no longer care about it. We're seeing these people who once were worried about a surveillance state actually on board with Donald Trump and these big tech psychopaths building out a surveillance state. So they don't tell you what the crime could actually be. These people just will automatically hear about repeat offenders because the media has constantly let us know about all these crimes that are being committed because Democrats let these convicts out of prison, and then they go and they commit the crime again. Think about how many times we heard those stories over the last couple of years. How the Biden administration, how states like California let rapists out of prison, how they let burglars out of prison, and then they go and they commit the crime again, and we keep hearing the term repeat offender. Well, here's the idea to solve the problem. Instead of overcrowding our prisons, because again, your home is going to be your prison once they initiate the carbon laws, what we'll do is we'll have these Tesla robots follow you around like a personal handler. I'm going to play the quote from you if you think that I'm actually making it up. Because not only does Elon Musk in this same speech talk about everybody being assigned for free their own Tesla robot that will be listening to everything they say, watching where they go and what they do. They'll make you think that this is for extreme offenders like murderers or rapists, but this is just going to be for people who disagree with the government, people who by the time 2030 rolls around won't be able to criticize the state of Israel or have difference of opinions than what the current government regime tells them they're supposed to think and how they're supposed to eat and how they're supposed to treat other people and every other thing that Big Brother wants to control because it's all about behavioral control. So here's Elon Musk talking about that. But keep in mind, he also is talking about universal high income. This is a tweet that he put out during this speech where he's talking about having Optimus replace human surgeons. Because again, remember we've heard about AI becoming big in the medical field and most people goes in one ear, out the other. They don't know what AI is. They think AI is nothing more than a Google search. They're talking about Optimus robots performing surgeries. And that way we won't have to worry about the price of healthcare anymore. And he tells us that universal high income will be provided for all and it'll eliminate poverty. And people out there are on board with this stuff because all it took was Elon Musk to jump on stage next to Donald Trump. All it took was Elon Musk to start saying that he believes in Jesus Christ. Like all these shills suddenly tell you that they have found faith in Christ, whether it's him or Russell Brand. All these guys for years and years and years have talked about being atheists. Now suddenly Christian and getting you on board with things like Tesla robots and autonomous vehicles and everything else they have planned for us. Now they're starting to work in universal basic income. But notice how they've changed the wording to universal high income. So conservatives who always complain about their tax money going towards Democrats who don't want to work, who want to sit home and play video games, well, all they needed to do was change the wording and put high income so that these sheeple suddenly think, well, wait, it'll be universal high income. So yes, let's build these robots out so they could follow around criminals or ex-criminals and so that they could take all of our jobs away, right? Elon Musk even tweeting it out proudly because he's fully on board with universal high income, just like he's fully on board with climate laws being in place. And if you understand what the plan is with Agenda 2030 and how these things tie together for human enslavement, you'll start to see what's really being built out around you. Here is his speech, and he talks about a time too where we won't need money. In fact, your wealth will be measured in how much energy you can provide. So I guess that does us no good because we're not allowed to actually generate free energy. They're allowed to control all of those things. So if you have energy, like say Tesla, who provides a lot of energy, you'll be the king of the world on top of the mountain. While the rest of us, well, we'll just be getting whipped in the rear end by Tesla bots.
You know, people often talk about like eliminating poverty, giving everyone amazing medical care. Well, there's actually only one way to do that, and that's with the Optimus robot. With humanoid robots, you can actually give everyone amazing medical care. Optimus will ultimately be better than the best human surgeon with a level of precision that is beyond human. So I think that's a pretty wild concept to say, okay, if you know, people always talked about eliminating poverty, but actually Optimus will actually eliminate poverty. Optimus will actually give people incredible medical care. You know, like I think we may be able to give people a more, if somebody's committed crime, a more humane form of containment of future crime, which is if you say like you now get a free Optimus, and it's just going to follow you around and stop you from doing crime. But other than that, you get to do anything. It's just going to stop you from committing crime. That's really it. You know, you don't have to put people in like prisons and stuff. I think it's pretty wild to think of the various of all the possibilities, but I think it's clearly the future. You know, my book recommendation for maybe the best, mostly utopian sci-fi future are the Ian Banks books, the culture books. So if you're curious, like what do I think the future is probably like? I think it's probably a bit like that. Or you know, Asimov to some degree, but I think it's and Heinlein. But Ian Banks, if you're like saying what does Elon think the future probably will be like for AI and robots, it's kind of Banksian. Now and things do get kind of wild from an economic standpoint. Because at a certain point, with AI and robotics, you can actually increase the global economy by a factor of 10 or maybe 100. There's not like an obvious limit. Like Optimus is kind of like an infinite money glitch. You know, and maybe there won't even be money in the future. Or money, but it might be measured in terms of wattage, like how much power can you bring to bear from an electrical standpoint.
So sure, I mean, what excuse will they make now for Elon Musk with these Tesla robots? They're going to take your job. No one's going to be able to work. These things are now going to follow around ex-criminals. So those aren't little talking points to get people to accept this. People love the idea of this because all they hear is, oh yeah, real bad criminals. Let's have them get watched and monitored by these Tesla bots until, of course, you're the real criminal. And you'll say, well, I'm never going to rob a bank. I'm never going to rob a Nordstrom's. I'm never going to rape a woman. I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. Well, they're going to redefine what a criminal is because those things will be gone by, in terms of being harsh penalties for criminals. What they care about is the thoughts in your mind. And if you think differently or you actually even dare to question what the government's doing when it tells you it's going to ration your electricity and ration the food you have and tell you to eat bugs instead of meat, well, guess what? You'll have one of these Optimus bots following you around. Now, you may have heard him mention Banksian in that speech, a Banksian society, right? So according to his artificial intelligence that he's unleashed on the world, AI Grok, let's see what it tells us Banksian is. And you tell me if this sounds like a world you want to live in. The culture is a post-scarcity, galaxy-spanning utopian civilization run by super-intelligent artificial minds. Key features that Elon keeps highlighting, right? Super intelligence. Remember, that's on the horizon. They constantly use words like utopia to make people think it'll be a world without poverty, a world without hate, all things that are human nature they want to remove, and they want you to be subservient slaves, Stepford wives. They want you to smile when they come to your door and tell you that they're going to rent your daughter or your wife or your husband for the afternoon and do as they please with them. That's what the world in their eyes is going to be. And people go, that's extreme. That's over the top. That's exactly what it is. That's their utopian society. A utopian society doesn't exist and it will never exist. So in this reality, this Banksian reality he's discussing here, tell me if it sounds familiar to you. An abundance and post-scarcity. Almost everything is free or effectively unlimited because hyper-advanced AI and technology handle all production, energy, logistics, etc. No one has to work unless they really want to. So that'll do great things for your mental health when you get up every day and you have nothing to do. right? What will you do? Well, you'll turn on a video game and go into some fake reality and live in some dystopian world. What will you do every day, right? Because God forbid humans do things that God put us here to do, like farm, like produce things, like have traits, like have the ability to build with our own hands. So let's let the robots do it so that we could sit at home and then have the government use our smart locks to make sure we can't exit our homes because, again, carbon change, carbon emissions, that's a big deal. So if you go outside and you breathe carbon emissions out, well, you're affecting the climate, so you got to stay inside. And you got to use rationed electricity, et cetera, right? So that'll be fun. And then it says super intelligent, benevolent AI is in charge. Oh, that sounds great, right? The culture is effectively governed by godlike artificial minds that are vastly smarter than humans, but they're genuinely benevolent, eccentric, witty, and deeply protective of biological beings, right? Oh, just like every AI movie we've ever seen or every robot movie we've ever seen, right? Like Space Odyssey, right? When Hal turns on his, Hal goes from being the subservient computer to being the one in charge. How many movies are there where we see the robots actually turn on humans? Oh, every single one, right? But of course, they're going to be trained to be protective of all of us, right? And so, of course, they're trained not to be, which is what's going to eventually happen. So they run the ships, the planets, and orbitals, while humans and other biologicals mostly party, travel, adventure, or pursue whatever hobbies they want. Of course, they're leaving out the whole carbon. That's the most important thing to remember here. What is coming with these carbon laws that you hear passing, like the carbon emissions on ships and carbon emissions from planes, and who's got a carbon footprint. John Kerry's traveling here and Bill Gates is traveling there. And then everybody starts pointing a finger at one another and says, well, they're going too far with their carbon emissions. If I'm allowed to go here, they can't go there. And everybody just ends up enslaving one another, right? So we can all just stay inside. So you could stay inside and party. And of course, they'll tell you could travel with limitations because everything will be autonomous. Your car will just shut off after X amount of miles. They aren't going to tell you this ahead of time. But isn't it interesting to pursue whatever hobbies you want? So they make this sound like life's going to be a vacation. Nobody's going to work. Everybody's going to get a couple of gold coins here and there that they could spend very scarcely. Because remember, 3 gold coins a month you get, and you can only use the 3 gold coins for 1 steak. So you better get the bugs because you can get 3,000 bugs for 1 gold coin. Oh, and on top of that, if you speak against the government, we're going to take all 3 gold coins away if you don't like the way we're handling things, right? And you got to love how they say godlike artificial minds, right? Because that's what this is. We're talking about worship in play, which is why the theory of artificial intelligence actually being the Antichrist, right? And actually people having to worship at the altar of AI, and how when you think of energy harvesting, what witches and Satanists do, how that could be a way for them to convince people, well, you have to worship and bow down to artificial intelligence because it feeds the beast. It feeds its energy, right? Otherwise, we won't have enough energy because all we hear about is scarcity of energy now, right? Think about that. Number 3, maximum individual freedom. Maximal fun. People can change bodies, genders, live for centuries, upload or download consciousness, join wild adventures, or just chill in paradise. The minds make sure no one can really hurt anyone else on a large scale, but personal freedom is close to absolute. Well, in a world where people are so hurt by words, I mean, literally people are more offended if you call them a name than if you punch them in the face. So I'm sure that'll really work where you could just chill in paradise. But how dare you tell somebody how you feel, because somebody could be offended by it, especially if it's somebody who fully supports Big Brother and you don't, and you say something about Big Brother. Well, they'll be really offended by it, right? But don't worry, you could change bodies and genders. So what does it matter? So you could live like an avatar, right? And then you could upload and download your consciousness and live forever. It sounds a lot like the Mark of the Beast, right? There'll be people in the end times seeking death who will not be able to find death, right out of the book of Revelation, right? Then they go on to say humor and irreverence. Importantly, the culture's AIs have a very dry, sarcastic, playful sense of humor. Ship names like Just Read the Instructions. Of course, I Still Love You, gray area nicknamed Meat Effer. And it says Elon loves this tone and explicitly wants Grok to have that same snarky culture mind personally instead of the bland corporate AI voice. Other ways to lure you into accepting AI using humor, which they always like to do. So the reason I'm reading to you about what a Banksian society looks like, because that's what he's talking about in regards to the technology that he's building out. We always talk about 1984. We always talk about this dystopian hell that's coming. Well, he's referencing Banksian, right? And doesn't that sound a lot like a technocracy? Because even as Grok tells you that it is a Banksian future, right? And a technocracy have a lot of overlap. They're ruled by super intelligent machines in the culture. The real power lies in the minds of hyper intelligent AIs that run the ships, the habitats, and effectively the entire civilization. Humans and other biologicals are more like beloved pets or junior partners than actual decision makers, right? Sounds a lot like Goyim. Why don't they just put that? That's what we are, cattle to them. Oh, we're like little pets to the AI. We're like little pets to Elon and all of these rich, DARPA goons like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, right? Is that what you want to be looked at as? Is that this is basically the ultimate technocracy governance by the most technically competent entities, the AIs. Goes on to say, mediocrity of intelligence and competence decisions are made by whichever mind is best suited for the task, not by popularity, wealth, or birthright, pure technocratic ideal. And they're starting to make people want this. Think about what they've been telling us about some of these people in politics who have been there for 50 years who won't leave, like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, right? Where they're saying, oh, they're wealthy, they stay in power, it's their birthright, the queen, the king, right? People will be on board with this because they'll say, you know what? Yeah, I'm sick of these people. I'm sick of it being by the richest person. And instead, what should be occurring is the people should have risen up against this and said, you don't get to stay in power. The rules are the rules. Doesn't matter how much money you have. Anybody should be able to be on a presidential ticket if these elections were actually real. Anybody. People don't even know you have to have millions of dollars to be on the ballot in each state, which by definition means you need hundreds of millions of dollars to run for president, just to be on the ballot. That means you have to be able to sacrifice hundreds of millions of dollars of your own wealth, knowing that you're not going to win the election because the election's not real in the first place, right? Yeah, so the people should have risen up against all of this stuff long ago, but they haven't, of course, because, well, we're starting to act like they're pets and allow them to do whatever they pleased. Post-scarcity engineered and maintained by technology, the culture's abundance is only possible because God-tier engineering and AI planning eliminate resource constraints. The technocracy would also tend to prioritize technological solutions to scarcity, right? Now, why do you think there's scarcity? Who are the ones who steal and hoard the resources? Who are the ones who cause floods and things like that with geoengineering and weaponized weather to take the lithium? Or who are the ones who cause droughts in certain places so food doesn't grow? Who are the ones who use chemtrails every day to make it difficult for anybody to grow anything in their backyard because of the cloud seeding and the sun shielding? Well, it's these people. So that's the only reason there's an actual scarcity. They've monopolized the market. They don't let, if you read a lot of the stuff with local farmers, they don't even let farmers grow their own food anymore, because they want the farmers to put their Bill Gates chemicals and pesticides on all their food products. And a lot of people are going, I'm not putting that crap on my food. And they go, well, then you can't farm. We're going to shut your farm down, right? So that's the only reason scarcity exists, because they manipulate the weather. They shield the sun. They cause mass amounts of poverty. They do this stuff because they're selfish psychopaths. And last but not least, humans largely removed from day-to-day governance. Most culture citizens don't vote. Yeah, then they vote now. They go and vote, but your vote doesn't count, so what's the difference? They say they don't hold office. Well, it sounds like a lot going on today, because none of these people are actually in office. They're just actors who show up here and there to put on a show in Congress to get you angry, to get you fighting with your neighbor over left-right ideologies, right? And it says, and they don't really need to work. Policy is handled by minds. Classic technocratic dream. Let the experts run everything so the rest of us can do whatever we want. That's how it'll be marketed. People are going to hear that and they go, that sounds good. I'm sick of these clowns in Congress, which is why I've been saying they're acting this way on purpose. The Lauren Boeberts, right? I mean, who would in their right mind support any of these people? And if you're on the opposite side of the aisle and you're a Democrat and you see people like Lauren Boebert, or whatever the name is, and Matt Gaetz, you're going to hate these people even more, right? And they do, and it works. And the same with the conservatives when they see Chuck Schumer and these other clowns constantly show up and say ridiculous things and talk about giving people tax money based on their skin color and everything. It's lunacy, and it makes people hate the government, and that's what they want. They want people to hate it because they want to bring this in. And then they go, oh, and on top of it, we'll get rid of all these people, and you could do what you want. I mean, don't you trust your phone? Right? Don't you trust this? And once all the power is given over to technology, then, of course, technology gets programmed differently to turn against you. Suddenly you're like, I have smart locks. It's great. My house is safe and secure. Until you're getting locked out of your home for saying something online that the government disagrees with, or I should say locked in your home, because they'd rather you be locked in than locked out, which of course we saw during COVID, part of the experiment run there, right? Getting you to quarantine in your home, making people afraid to leave their home, getting people accustomed to doing everything on the internet. So Banksian culture future is pretty much the same thing as a technocracy, which is what Elon Musk is peddling. The technocrats become like actual gods. Those gods turn out to be chill, ethical, and slightly hedonistic anarchists who just want everyone to have a good time. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what they all want. So this is what we're going to bring in now. We're going to bring in the technocracy. We're going to tell people it's for their benefit. And we're going to start with the police, right? California even already using Tesla Cybertrucks. We know in New York City, they were using robots in the subways. They're using all types of technology that should be illegal, but they're convincing us that it's for our benefit, like having illegal scans of your body to see if you're carrying a gun or a knife, even if you might be somebody who has the legal right to carry a gun, right? And the next thing you know, we got RoboCops, and we got these things all over the place following us around. But this is how they normalize it. They normalize it by telling you that these things are going to be put in place to follow the bad guys. And when the bad guys get out of line, these things will stop them. But guess what? You'll never be able to stop these things, because things like EMP guns, you ever seen these things before? These are high-grade military weapons that you would think maybe you could buy at like some type of gun show or something. No, you could buy automatic rifles and those things. You can't buy this. Are you kidding me? You can't buy this. Why? Well, you'll be able to disable the robots. It's the only way you'll be able to, right? Because people think they're going to shoot these things and stand a chance. Unless you got a bazooka, I don't think you're going to do much damage to any of these robots. You need to short circuit them, literally. Right? But of course, EMP guns are illegal. Why are they illegal? Well, they're considered destructive weapons under arms control and electronic warfare laws that they put in place for this reason. Once all this stuff is in place, once there's robots walking the street, patrolling the street, police officer robots, et cetera, and you suddenly go, how do we protect ourselves from this? I mean, it's one thing if an armed cop does this stuff. Maybe you can fight back. Maybe you're armed. Maybe so. Well, what are you going to do when a robot suddenly just decides you're the enemy of the state? And it comes after you and you go, well, what the heck am I going to do? Well, you're not going to have any type of EMP gun. And if you try to build one that's military grade, you won't be able to. And if you do, you'll be arrested for it. You'll probably serve the rest of your life in jail longer than a pedophile would. Why? Because the potential is there for indiscriminate damage, they tell us. A strong EMP can fry unshielded electronics. Who cares? Who cares? Oh, well, it could hit someone's pacemaker. It could hit someone's hospital equipment. Look at the wording they put in here. Oh, okay. So someone's going to get an EMP weapon. They're going to go to the hospital and hit grandma's pacemaker or maybe their hospital equipment. It could kill them, right? So we have to have these laws in place. Oh, they might go after the power grids, right? Why would they go after the power grids? Why would they just, like those stories I covered for the last couple of years, these make-believe stories where they would self-sabotage the power grids and show you two guys going and shooting at the power grids with no motive whatsoever, right? Preparing you for this transition that we're going to see with these power grids. These are going to be taken down and shut off and rebuilt, right? They're going to have more control over everything. And they have everything to be pretty much, be running through, turbines and, every single thing that they could do with electric versus actually using natural gas, et cetera. So they want to, and they've wanted to destroy the power grids. But they're worried if you have one of these things, you might just decide to go shoot one, right? And then it says phones and computers. Like it'd be the end of the world if you use an EMP on someone's computer. Oh my gosh, or their phone. They wouldn't be able to find all the selfies they took while they're out at Friendly's having a ice cream sundae. I mean, give me another break, right? So it goes on to say classified as a potential terrorist tool. Right? These are things that people don't know because they don't even know what an EMP gun is. So you think it's a terrorist tool? This is something if you shot it at a drone, it would shoot a drone out of the sky, right? So just think, God forbid, when your government goes rogue, oh wait, it already has, and they send drones up in your backyard aimed at you, well, what are you going to do to shoot it down? Well, you're going to try to shoot it with a gun, right? But what if you had an EMP gun? Well, you'd be able to knock it right out of the sky. Well, they don't want that, right? How is it a terrorist tool? Oh, the terrorists are going to run to to the White House and use it on the computers. Isn't that what they did at Comet Ping Pong, right? They told us that the guy went in and shot the computer's hard drive. I mean, the stuff they tell us, right? Pretty incredible. So we can't, it's a terrorist tool to have an EMP gun, okay? Because you might shoot someone's phone by accident. Would the phone blow up? No. All that would happen is the phone would just go off. And it would be short-circuited, and you'd lose everything on the phone. That's the end of the world, right? This is, of course, all to protect their AI data centers that Trump is building out, because they don't want people in the wake of an awakening happening going after the technology. Once that's all in place, people are thinking, well, how are we going to go after all well, you won't be able to, because you won't have you won't be able to go after any of this stuff. There won't be the equipment to do it, because nobody will even know what an EMP gun is, right? So keep your mind on the handguns and not on those types of weapons, which people should be able to have if the government or, these agencies like DARPA are allowed to have this drone technology that they can fly, like the whole story in New Jersey, right? They're allowed to fly it in New Jersey, never told us why. All they did was come out and tell you what, if you shoot down one of these drones, which we don't know what they are, you're going to jail. Huh? Come again? Oh, so somebody can illegally fly a drone over my home and I can't shoot it down, and you're telling me you don't even know who it is. It could be some, pervert, peeping Tom who's trying to get, pictures of me on the toilet. Oh, well, we don't know what it is, but don't shoot it down or you're going to jail. Oh, so clearly it was you, right? Doing experiments, obviously, in New Jersey and, up by New York, right? So this is the world that we live in, right? And even Elon Musk, even this week, talked about, this is a quote that he's constantly discussed, how very few people there are on Earth, right? Which is, these guys are all obsessed with depopulation. But isn't it interesting that Elon Musk talks about that we could live in a big city and we could live in, all 8 billion people on Earth can fit on one floor in the city of New York. So think about it. He's telling us, hey, you all could live, the whole world could just live in one city. There's a lot of space. So then why are they telling us to depopulate? Why do they cram everybody into cities, right? He said it multiple times. He said back in 2023, it's insane. Roughly 70% of Earth is ocean, and most of the ocean has 0 ships per Starlink cell. Most people think Earth is crowded with humans, but in reality, it's almost empty by surface area, which I've mentioned a million times. Drive cross country a few times. Lots of space. Who owns a lot of that space? Oh, well, China owns a lot of the land illegally, right? Bill Gates, the government seizes a lot of the land illegally, right? So they tell you that there's not a lot of free space for people to live freely, and then they just cram you into these cities and then destroy the cities, right? A pretty ingenious plan if you're a psychopath. So it goes on to say humans congregate in a very small percentage of Earth. The entire population of Earth can fit in New York City on one floor. So he says multiple times about all of us fitting on one floor. It sounds a lot like that thing they're building in Saudi Arabia, right? The line. How they want everybody to live in this gigantic mirage. That's what it is. It's literally a mirror in the middle of the desert that they're marketing to you as paradise because there's water nearby. Ooh, you could go swimming with the dolphins. We'll put dolphins in there for you. Just come on in and you'll be locked in forever and ever, but we'll let you go out and see the sun once a day for 15 minutes. Oh yeah, we're going to put chips inside you. I even covered how they have Synchron inside of the line. Okay, one of these tech companies that's working on the brain-computer interface that they want to put in your body, right? But the reason I'm mentioning that is because Elon Musk is talking about everybody being jammed into one building in New York, which ties into all this other crap that he's discussing when he's talking about a Banksian society and universal basic income, right? Remember when Trump and Elon Musk went out to Saudi Arabia before their fake fallout, right? We gave them a $600 billion investment. Well, $20 billion was for Saudi Arabia's AI and energy infrastructure, right? You could even ask Grok, which is Elon Musk's creation. So it's telling you whatever, he would block this if it wasn't true. Right, May 13th, 2025, the U.S.-Saudi Strategic Economic Partnership was signed, which aims to boost investments with Saudi Arabia, pledging $600 billion and Trump targeting $1 trillion. It supports Vision 2030, focusing on job creation, AI, and projects like NEOM. NEOM being the line that I just showed you, which is what they envision, to build this thing out and get everybody in it, to live in it, right? Like slaves. But it's a resort. Mickey Mouse will come through every couple of days and you could slap it on the butt. Yay, everybody could dress up like their favorite anime characters or their favorite Disney characters. We could just live in this dystopian retardville where everybody could just be so happy that they're cosplaying or whatever they're doing that they're going to allow this small group of people to literally enslave us with tech and have robots serve as our masters who are going to follow us around. And if you have a criminal record, everybody's going to give a thumbs up and say, yeah, let the robots follow around the criminals. We hate criminals, right? Until you realize, wait a minute. Oh, you forgot to pay your taxes one year, or you couldn't afford to pay your taxes because your government's spiking the prices on so much stuff, even though the taxes are illegal in the first place, that you couldn't afford to pay it because you could barely pay your grocery bill. Oh, well, you're a criminal and we're going to follow you around, right? So they changed the language. I'll tell you at first it's to follow pedophiles around so everybody agrees with it. Like they always, we're doing the stuff with Palantir because the illegals, and they're killing all the white girls at colleges. Oh, yes, let's allow the government to illegally access people's phones. All right, everyone's on board, just like this. Ooh, we're going to follow around these criminals, right? They'll blast it on Fox News. It's Elon Musk's invention. Ooh, they'll love it because they're sheeple. They are sheeple. And, when we talk about this, Vision 2030, right? That's what this Grok, Vision 2030, projects like NEOM. Remember, all these countries have Vision 2030, which is really Agenda 2030 with the word vision. They just change the wording around. Just like we have high universal basic income. Just change the wording around and the sheeple won't even realize what they're seeing, right? Just like Jamaica Vision 2030. Oh, right, didn't they just wipe them out? Right? Well, Saudi Arabia has Vision 2030 as well. So Elon Musk is talking about a future where free, right? That's another thing, right? Because your tax money will fund it. Free Tesla humanoid Optimus robots will follow around criminals. And then the next thing you know, they'll say, well, it's working so well. Why don't we have them in the schools? Well, it's working so well. Why don't we have them in the grocery store? Why don't we have security guards at the mall? All these places that they create false flag shooting events at, we could put these things there and people will feel more safe. And suddenly they'll say, you know what? We need to put it in the home because domestic violence is on the rise, right? Let's put one in the home. And you know what? It could help raise your child. You know what? And it'll go on and on and on and on. These things will be following you around till you're on a chain like a dog on a leash. And these things will be walking around. But the scary part is that we actually live in a world where there's humans who enjoy dressing up as dogs, playing in the park with leashes around their necks, because that's just pretty much what the world has turned into, a bunch of psychopaths, a bunch of people who are just so brain dead and so sick that they rather cosplay, role play, dressing up as a dog and getting off inside of some dog costume than actually being human beings. And that, again, is why we've gone back to this mass movement where more adults are behaving as kids, because psychologically it's part of a psychosis. Adults regress and start behaving like children when they're faced with trauma or faced with lots of hardships. And that's what they're doing to you every day. They're driving you crazy with stress, with trauma, with the prices of this and the prices of that. Instead of us acting like adults and doing something about it, people are just regressing. They're like, I'm going to buy my favorite Ninja Turtle toys from when I was a kid. Why? I don't know. It makes me feel better. It makes me remember a young time. And how many of these things on YouTube you see of these adults? And I think it's perfectly normal. Like I changed my whole house. My wife's going to kill me, but I took 10 grand and I bought all of my Mickey Mouse, all the little dolls I had as a kid. I got Mario Brothers stuff. I got Ninja Turtles. I got my favorite. And people think it's normal. It's human regression. It's human regression. And they're doing it deliberately. And they're going to get you to accept this. And then one day you're going to snap out of it and go, oh my gosh, I'm a slave. I'm literally got a robot in my home telling me what to do. Telling me that it wants to spend the night with my wife. Telling me that it wants to spend the night inside of me. Yeah, that's what we're headed towards, folks. And it all starts with stuff like this. You might say, well, that's a stretch. It's not a stretch. It's not. Nobody even knows who controls these robots, who programs these things. How quickly can they change the program to turn these things on you? Well, very quickly. And they will as they change laws. Because like I've said a million times, think about how they changed what a terrorist is in people's minds. 20 years ago, a terrorist was Osama bin Laden. Some guy in a cave with an Arab guy, right? What is it now? Oh, well, for a Republican, a terrorist is a Democrat. And for a Democrat, a terrorist is a Republican. And in fact, it's gotten so insane, they can identify how they vote based on how they look. Look, they've got blue hair. They're a Democrat. The girl has blue short hair. She must be a gay Democrat, right? Oh, it's a trans, definitely a Democrat. Then they look and they go, oh, look, it's a MAGA guy, right? He's got a beard, but it's all clean cut beard. And he's got a country music shirt on and he's got a hat on and a MAGA hat. Oh, and they can identify you. And that's the new terrorist. And then it'll continue to change. And eventually the terrorist will be anyone who doesn't comply with this. And really what it's starting to look like is this is going to be MAGA, full, fascism to a T. And if you're not on board with MAGA, well, these people seem so unhinged that they're going to sick everybody against you, right? And again, I'm not MAGA. I'm not Democrat. I'm not either because it doesn't exist. It's a fake ideology to give you the illusion your vote counts. And then they put these people like Elon Musk out there. They align differently every 4 years with whoever, but they gain your support. Oh, I look at all these concerns. I love Elon Musk. Well, yeah, 10 years ago you didn't when he was telling you that all vehicles were going to be electric. Everyone's going, well, that's gay. I don't want an electric vehicle. Now, oh, we better support Elon. The stock's going down. He's not a trillionaire anymore. He's only a billionaire. Let's go buy Tesla bots. Oh, then you see these dork mobiles all over the road, right? Guy, oh, look at my big Tesla. I look like I'm in Terminator movie. Huh? What are you driving that for? You think you're a Pope mobile? You think someone's going to shoot bullets through your window? I'm doing it to support Elon. Oh, do you know it's an electric vehicle? The same thing every conservative was against, right? Autonomous as well. The same thing every conservative is against. Now they're on board. And now they're on board with Palantir. Now they're on board with the surveillance state. Now they're on board with these Tesla robots following around criminals until it's all part of our normal lives. And then they realize, oh, wait a minute. They're going to start using these things on us, aren't they? Yeah, they are. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.